All right, so let's get right into it. There's this part of procrastination that we really don't talk about enough. It's not the delay itself, it's what happens in that moment right after. You miss a day, you avoid a task, and something just clicks. This familiar, heavy feeling shows up. Yeah, that feeling. That quiet, heavy sense of, oh, here we go again. You know exactly the one I'm talking about. It's that moment you realize you've just broken a promise to yourself, and all the internal alarms start going off. And that heavy feeling? Well, that's guilt. Now, most of us think guilt is a good thing, right? Like it's supposed to push us back into action, make us more responsible. But for overthinkers, and let's be real, a lot of us are, guilt does the exact opposite. It doesn't motivate, it paralyzes. And this brings us to what I call the procrastination guilt trap. This is the sneaky process where guilt takes one simple missed action, like not going to the gym one time, and blows it up into this huge, defining story about your entire character. And that story, it usually starts with a thought that sounds a little something like this. I knew I wouldn't stick to this. See? It's that first little seed of doubt that frames this one misstep not as just an event, but as something that was totally inevitable. And from there, it just escalates. The self-blame turns into a pattern. Why do I always do this? Suddenly, we're not talking about one missed workout anymore. Now it's about some deep, fundamental flaw in who you are. Which leads to the final knockout punch. There's no point restarting now. At this point, the task itself isn't even the problem. The real barrier is the shame that's now glued to it. And shame is heavy, you know? Our brains will do almost anything to avoid feeling it. So this is the guilt cycle in full swing. First, you feel guilt for a missed action. Then, to avoid that awful feeling of shame, you start avoiding the task even more. But of course, that just makes the guilt pile up over time, until getting back to it feels, well, emotionally expensive. It feels like climbing a mountain. That's how one missed day turns into a week. Not because you're lazy, but because the cost of returning just feels way too high. The words you use here are so important. Really listen to that inner voice. Is it using these absolute all-or-nothing words, like always, never, every single time? This kind of language doesn't inspire you to change. It actually signals a threat to your nervous system. Your brain goes into protection mode. And what's safer than facing a disappointed version of yourself? Well, avoidance, of course. So here it is. This is the big, uncomfortable truth for so many of us. You don't procrastinate because you lack discipline. You procrastinate because you don't have a way to start again, to re-enter, without punishing yourself first. So what do we do about it? What's the way out? Well, we have to replace that whole cycle of guilt and punishment with something way more powerful: neutral accountability. And this whole shift, it starts with the question you ask yourself. See, guilt is always asking, why did I fail? It's a question that's just loaded with judgment. But neutral accountability asks something much simpler, much cleaner. What happened? No drama, no sweeping conclusions about who you are. Just observation. And here are some really practical ways that shift in language can look. So instead of, I messed up again, just try, I missed yesterday. Fact. Instead of the dramatic, I ruined the streak, how about the streak paused? And instead of that devastating thought, I just don't have what it takes. Maybe, just maybe, this system didn't fit me. Now, let's be really clear here. This is not about denial. It's actually about being more accurate. When you strip away that heavy, messy layer of judgment, you actually make it possible to respond and adjust, instead of just reacting with self-punishment. Guilt demands punishment before it will allow progress. And that's just a dead end. Okay, so how do we actually put this into practice? How do we make this a real thing? We do it through the power of a daily reset. So what is a daily reset? It's really simple. It's the ability to treat each and every day as a brand new entry point. It doesn't mean you forget what happened yesterday, not at all. It just means you refuse to carry that emotional debt forward into today. Let this one really sink in for a second. You don't owe today an explanation for what you didn't do yesterday. The moment you wake up, you have permission to begin again without having to first justify or apologize for your past stumbles. So the process is actually this simple. Number 1, treat each day as new. Number 2, refuse to carry that emotional debt forward. And number 3, just take one clean step forward. That's it. No trying to catch up, no long self-lecture, just one small, manageable action. And for overthinkers, This is a truly radical act. We're so used to quitting, not because we can't do the thing, but because continuing after a mistake feels, well, humiliating. A reset completely removes that humiliation. It restores dignity to the process. And once your dignity is back, action becomes possible again. When you start adopting this approach, it creates a whole new reality for you. We stop chasing this impossible idea of perfection, and instead, we start building resilient progress. And that right there, that's the core mindset shift. The old goal was perfection, right? An unbreakable streak. The new goal is something much more powerful: resilience. So, what is resilience in this context? What does it actually look like? It's the ability to miss a day without turning it into a final verdict on your character. It's being able to stumble without emotionally walking away from the entire journey. And this is exactly why procrastination starts to lose its power over you. When you practice daily resets, you dramatically lower the emotional cost of returning to a task. You take away the dramatic payoff your brain gets from avoiding it, and you completely erase that heavy, paralyzing story of failure. And as you keep doing this, you're going to notice something really cool. Your progress, it starts to feel less fragile. One missed day no longer has the power to threaten the entire system. One low-energy afternoon doesn't derail your whole week. So let's end on this note. You don't need to earn the right to start again. You don't need to punish yourself back into motion. You just need a reset, a system that treats you like someone who is absolutely worth continuing for. And from that place, consistency doesn't just become possible, it becomes sustainable.